You've probably already heard of Indian company Mahindra, and that's because here in North America, they've been selling farm equipment and tractors for a long time. Now though, the brand is getting into the off-road side-by-side market with this thing, the ROXOR. And trust me, this thing is no tractor. So first of all, we have to talk about why the ROXOR looks so much like a Jeep. And that's because essentially it is one. It's just an old one, but it's brand new. Let me explain this. So Mahindra has had an agreement in place since 1947 to build this thing. Now back then it was the Willys Jeep, but they've had agreements with all the companies throughout the years that have stewarded the Jeep brand. So, you know, American Motors and Daimler Chrysler and now Fiat. Now, through these agreements, Mahindra has been able to bring this ROXOR to North America, but they did make one styling change, which is noteworthy. This is a 4.5 slot grille, not that 7 slot classic Jeep grille, and I think it gives the ROXOR a pretty unique look all of its own. So what you're looking at here is a modern version of those classic Jeeps, entirely assembled at a new plant in Auburn Hills, Michigan. Now, the ROXOR is not street legal, which makes it a side-by-side, but it is fundamentally different than America's side-by-sides in a number of ways. Now, the ROXOR uses a fully boxed steel frame, it has a turbo diesel engine, leaf springs all around, and a proper 5-speed manual with a clutch pedal rather than a CVT. The 2.5 liter turbo diesel that drives the ROXOR puts out 62 horsepower at 3,200 RPM and 144 pound-feet of torque at just 1,400 RPM, driving this machine to a limited top speed of 45 miles per hour. Now, stopping power is provided by 9-inch discs in the front and 11-inch drum brakes in the rear. Underneath, you get 16-inch wheels wrapped in 235/70 R16 tires. Now for overall size, the ROXOR is 148 inches long, 62 inches wide, and 75 inches tall. It offers 9 inches of ground clearance, and one of the statistics that really sets it apart from other side-by-sides, a tow capacity of 3,490 pounds. So the ROXOR is obviously a totally unique proposition on the market. The real question is, can it work hard, and is it any fun? Well, I'm here at Bundy Hill Off-Road Park in Jerome, Michigan. We're gonna go hit the trails and then I'll let you know. So here we are on the trail in this Mahindra ROXOR, and let me tell you the first thing that jumps out at me. It's absolutely simplicity. This thing is just so basic, and that's what I've come to really appreciate about it, you know? It's not like the high-tech Polaris razors that you can buy now. This thing is a real back-to-basics visit, and if you're the kind of guy who likes a clutch pedal and a real 5-speed manual, you're probably gonna love this Mahindra. Even down to the transfer case, you know? We have 2-wheel drive high, 4-wheel drive high, and then 4 low. Well, that's a mechanical linkage. Sometimes it doesn't want to go. You got to rock this thing and, you know, get it to pop into 4 low. But that's what a real mechanical linkage is all about. So what's it actually like to drive? Well, first of all, the steering here is pretty heavy, you know, it's got a lot of weight to it. I think I'd prefer it to be a little lighter, to be honest, but it does give you a nice meaty feeling in your hands. In terms of power, in high gear, there isn't a ton of it, you know, that 144 pound-feet of torque, it doesn't move this thing with too much authority. But I'm gonna tell you what I've been doing. I've actually been running in 4 low for almost this entire day. I've been out here on these trails, and you know what? 4 low, you start in second a lot of the time, but once you're up to 3rd and 4th, you have lots of power. It's there when you need it, and you don't need to downshift to get it. So honestly, in my opinion, 4 low is the place to be with this ROXOR. And that's because you can put it in 1st gear and you can climb up stuff like this. And the ROXOR just climbs. I mean, these KO2s, they don't lose traction on any of this kind of soft, wet sort of dirt we're on here. You know, they just laugh it off. And the amount of torque that the diesel puts out and that's getting to the ground in low gear is pretty impressive. Now, maybe my favorite thing about the low gear range ratio is, you know, Toyota has its fancy crawl control. We don't need that. We put this ROXOR in first, and my feet are now off the brake, off the gas, and this is all engine braking right here. This is all gearing and engine holding us back, and you know, it just creeps down this hill. I maybe hit 5 miles per hour right there, maybe. And I love that about this thing, you know, there's no systems needed, there's no computer brains needed. It's all just gearing and mechanicals. Okay, so by now you're saying, well, it can't all be perfect. Of course, it's not all perfect. The downsides here are I'm speed limited. This thing is speed limited at 45 miles per hour. And if I'm honest with you, you don't really want to go that fast, especially over whoops. When I hit some whoops here today with speed, you get a lot of front to back bucking. You know, it really wants to dig in the front end when it comes down. And that's just the leaf springs and the short wheelbase, you know. It's just not really set up to really eat stuff up. You know, at slow speeds, it's not bad. But, you know, the speed cap thing, you wouldn't want to go faster than 45 in most of this stuff, trust me. So the manual transmission here is one of the things that makes this Mahindra so unique. And the actual actions of it, the shift lever down here, it's pretty loose, feels kind of, you know, agricultural. And then when it comes to the clutch, the engagement point is actually kind of soft. It's not a real hard grab. But that's nice, you know, when you're out here and you're climbing all sorts of different terrains, you don't want a really hard bite point. And this Mahindra has, you know, a nice soft clutch engagement, and I haven't even managed to stall it at all today. And I'll chalk that up to the clutch and also just the power from this diesel. So now here's another pro and a con of the Mahindra. Its weight. This ROXOR is about 3,025 pounds. And I mean, compared to anything else in the side-by-side market, that's pretty much gargantuan. However, there is a pro to all the weight, and that's that the weight is really down low here. I mean, the fact that it's body on frame, it just helps the engineers keep the weight down low. So the center of gravity in this Mahindra is really nice and low, and it feels it. You know, I've been kind of side hilling today and even just turning sharp corners, and it never once has even felt like it wanted to lift a tire to the left or the right. So there's no doubt that it's a heavy machine, but the weight is positioned in the right place. Two other things I really love about driving this ROXOR: its size and the seating position. So it's quite small, this little thing, you know, it's got a small little footprint, and you just feel the whole vehicle around you. When I was kind of picking my way through those trees, it wasn't too hard because just like a Jeep, I can see my fender flares. I know exactly where my wheels are. The hood is a little bit long, so it's, you know, maybe a little hard to judge out there, but I can see exactly where that drop off is, and I know it's sheer. Just, you know, the size of this thing makes it really manageable in a lot of different off-road situations. And helping with the visibility is the seating position. And, you know, once again, just like a modern day Jeep, you have this nice tall seating position. You almost feel like you're sitting on it, not in it, but it really helps you to get a great sense of your surroundings. Unlike a lot of side-by-sides where, especially with the full cages on the doors, you feel really kind of stuck down in that machine. It can be sort of hard to see your corners. This Mahindra has none of those problems. So I mentioned earlier that the leaf springs here, you know, they make the ROXOR a little bit of a rough rider, and it likes to kind of buck back and forth. But the advantage of those leaf springs is the tow rating. Now the ROXOR is rated to tow over 3,400 pounds. And that's, you know, quite a ways ahead of any other side-by-side on the market. It's just about 1,000 pounds better. Now, I didn't actually get the chance to tow with it today, but I can tell you that just from feeling how stiff this thing is, there's a lot of room here to add more weight. And I bet that actually putting some weight might smooth out the ride a little bit. So, you know, if you're looking for something that's a little more work focused, but you can still have some fun in, that's basically what this ROXOR is about. And more to that point, Mahindra actually plans on releasing a version specifically for the agriculture industry, which will have a PTO on it, so you're able to run all sorts of different, implements. And once that comes out, I'm sure the farmers and the ranchers are going to eat this thing up. Okay, so now if you're saying that you're interested in the ROXOR, you're going to need to visit your local power sports dealer, because that's where Mahindra is selling these things. Now, the basic model sells for $15,500, just a little over. But this model we're in here, this is the upgraded LE. It goes for $19,000. Now, both use the same powertrains. This LE, though, gets some upgraded equipment. So we get a light bar, we get this best top, soft top, we get an AM/FM radio, an 8,000-pound Warn winch up front, and then maybe the most important upgrade is this set of BF Goodrich KO2s. And let me tell you, you can probably live without the light bar, you can probably live without the radio, but you're gonna wanna get these tires, or at least an upgraded set of tires for this ROXOR. All right, so listen, this ROXOR, it's not gonna blow your socks off with high speed and suspension travel like a lot of today's modern side-by-sides can. But this thing just packs so much oddball charm, and I just love it because it's so simple. Now, the fact is, this is the only place in the off-road industry you can go to get a real clutch pedal and a 5-speed manual. Combined with the ROXOR's stout work ethic, I really think the company has cooked up a recipe for success here in North America.